Hello, everyone, and welcome to Design Dash episode 3. In this show, we give 3 creators one surprise prompt and only 15 minutes to design a Pathfinder and Starfinder Infinite-worthy encounter. That's right, today our episode features Pathfinder and Starfinder Infinite. But before we hop into the juicy details, let's kick things off with introductions. My name is Brooke Whitney, my pronouns are she, her, and I am one of your Design Dash hosts. I am a partner relations rep at DriveThru and a big fan of fantasy role-playing games. So, will this be the last push I need to finally try Pathfinder? Stay tuned to find out. And with me today is my fabulous co-host, Danny. So take it away, Danny.
Hey y'all, my name's Danny, and I'm still hooked that Brooke said this is going to be a juicy episode, and I'm kind of hungry and excited about juicy things. I'm the community manager at Roll20, and I'm also the co-host of Design Dash, but that's enough about us. You see all these amazing people around us. I want to get to know our amazing co-host and contestants. So let's do a little intro and some icebreakers. We'll start off with our special guest host, Rue. If you could go ahead and give us a little intro about yourself.
Hello, my name is Rue. I use they, he, or Z pronouns, and I'm the marketing and media specialist over at Paizo. So that means that I essentially work with media to get all of our products covered, and I do internal project management for Paizo. But also, I have written for Paizo on a handful of projects, so I have sort of the mixed experience of design and marketing.
Heck yeah. Thank you so much for bringing your expertise here. For your icebreaker, I got to meet you and your partner a couple years ago, and y'all had like a Halloween themed wedding, which I've always wanted to go to, and I couldn't make it, which was super sad. But I've also seen your awesome cosplays and makeup skills. So I have to know, this year in 2023, if you could be anything for Halloween with no budgets or time constraints, so we're thinking like think big, what would you be this year?
I spent like 10 minutes while we were getting ready for this thinking about this because I have like a mental list of ideal costumes, and I think I would have to go with Chaos from Hades because they're so gender, but they're so like big and not human shaped that like building it would cost me an unfathomable amount of money and time. If I was unimaginably wealthy and didn't have a job, I would want to be Chaos, and I would just float around for Halloween. Also,
I love that.
Because Halloween is now my anniversary, every year I get to have the funnest wild costume for my anniversary.
I love that so much. I don't know anything about Hades other than the fact that like all of their characters are just like gorgeous, beautiful, handsome, very gender, very I want to be them and be with them. So I'm into it. So let's go ahead and introduce our 3 contestants. First up, Mike Logan, aka Logar the Ogar. I freaking love that name. Yourself.
Hi, yeah, I'm Mike Logan. Lots of people just call me Logar. I am a Starfinder Infinite writer. I also produce an actual play of the Starfinder Dead Suns campaign called Dead Sundays. It is very, very fun. We've been doing it for over 2 years now. We are barely halfway through the campaign, and we have no plans of stopping. It's gone through a couple changes, but that's been my main focus for the past couple months, revamping the show and making it better. And now that I've got that set, I'm ready to get back into like writing and stuff. So I'm very excited to do this. Hey, you can find me, my publisher name is Mike Logan on DriveThru RPG. You can find my stuff on Starfinder Infinite. And you can also find me at twitch.tv/LogarTheOgar, Twitter and Blue Sky at LogarTheOgar. And our YouTube channel is called Dead Sundays. It is youtube.com/@DeadSundays.
Yeah. Speaking of your writing, we saw that you've designed some holiday themed games. If you had to mash up 2 holidays or create a brand new holiday, what would you design?
This is an amazing question because little did you know, I have been thinking about this for years and years. And I want to propose on February 30th. February 30th, we do Christmas 2. Because we have Christmas and then we have New Year's. And then it's cool for a month. And then it's Valentine's Day and everybody's like, do we want to do this? And then it's February 30th and it's cold and it sucks and we need something to hold on to. So I propose Christmas 2. We just do it again. How do you feel about that?
I feel good about it. I don't know if I'm not brain selling, but is February 30th a real day?
No. Oh,
No.
fuck. I meant to say the end of February.
Okay, I was just like, I don't know if this is a thing or if I don't know what leap
This
years
holiday
are.
just never happens.
Yeah,
ever.
no, I didn't mean for it to never happen. I just got really excited and I needed to pick a date and I picked one. It turns out that date doesn't exist. I'm very sorry. Christmas 2 is canceled.
So the answer is you're creating a new day of the year, and I love that for us.
Listen, when you're a writer, you can make anything. I hate that I said that.
Shoot for the moon.
Shoot for the moon. If that tells you anything about how this episode's going to go, we're super stoked for it. Thanks, Logar. Next up, Brian, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brian Lane, he, him. I am a physics education researcher by day and a Pathfinder Infinite author by night. Although I'm very interested in this Starfinder 2nd edition news we got, where maybe I can use a lot of my Pathfinder 2 knowledge. A lot of folks know me on Pathfinder Infinite for the Inkfinder series of magical tattoos. I was also a co-author on the popular New Orcs on the Block / Orc Strong Together adventure / player source material, which I included this fun election subsystem in that I'm currently working on an expansion for. So I'm hoping to get that out sometime this fall. I recently got my Blue Sky invitation, so I'm there at wbrianlane.bsky.social, and I hang out on the Infinite Possibilities Discord.
Heck yeah. On your socials, I saw you were grilling zucchini and pineapples. And as we know, I like juicy and delicious things. So I had to make your icebreaker question around food. I've also been watching a lot of Gordon Ramsay. So if Gordon Ramsay were to walk up to you and ask you to make a signature dish, what would it be?
So I need to give some context for the signature dish that my wife has a lot of food allergies. And so cooking in our house requires some nice creative constraints like no gluten and no black pepper and no apple-based vinegars, but other vinegars are okay. And so a little while ago, I came up with this barbecue tofu recipe because we're also trying to cut down on our meat consumption. And she cannot have a lot of barbecue because it's all vinegar-based and the default vinegar she's allergic to. So I had to make my own barbecue sauce. I had to figure out how to grill tofu with sauce in such a way that it did not become burned. And I would prepare that with a side of gluten-free fried onion rings because those are very difficult to do because gluten is a binding agent. And so anything gluten-free tends to not bind, but the secret is tapioca flour. It has a very nice texture. It crisps up very nicely and it sticks together very well. So I pass that on as my cooking tip for the day.
I love that. So y'all see, this is a family show. Y'all are learning how to cook. You'll learn how to design soon. And I'm sorry if I just made y'all even more hungry if you are watching this right now. Thank you so much, Brian. And last but not least, Jess, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jessica Markram. My pronouns are she, her. My camera already kind of tipped over because my cat Trisket is playing with it. And you can find me online at Unseelie Jess on Blue Sky. Oh, Jesus Christ, Tris.
Triscuit's the special guest designer.
Come here, sir. You are a troublemaker. This is Trisket.
Aww.
He is.
Sorry, fellas. Jessica wins just because of Trisket. Game over.
No. You don't get to go back where you were. You were bad. And on Twitter at Miss_Jess03, on Twitch at Angry Nerd Girl. And you probably know me. If you know me, it's from Queer Finder. I created Dr. Whiskers, the catfolk investigative reporter who is terrible at her job, but she tries really hard.
I love that. Thank you for the extra Trisket action.
He was asleep in the other room right when we started. And I'm sure as soon as he heard me talking, he was like, I must cause trouble.
We've geeked out a little bit before about Six the Musical. Do you have a favorite queen, whether historical, one of the six, or even fictitious that you really enjoy?
Of the six, I think Catherine Howard always gets kind of a raw deal. I feel like Anne Boleyn takes most of her shine, well deserved. However, Catherine Howard I just feel for Catherine Howard. She was like 15 and in over her head and not the brightest bulb in the box. And I just love her. And she has one of the best songs in 6. But fictional queens, the brightest bulb in the box, and also got a raw deal probably, is Marjorie Terrell. And I just love her so much. I almost got a Terrell tattoo. And then I decided not to get tattoos based on media that hasn't completed yet. And I'm glad that I did that. But yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much. Brooke, after all these amazing introductions, we're ready to get started.
This is going to be a great show. Before we get started, let me just explain the rules. Today we have gathered 3 amazing designers to compete head-to-head for prestige and glory. They will be challenged to create an encounter in 15 minutes based on a surprise prompt, which we will reveal in a moment. You, the viewers, can decide who wins. After the show, you can vote for your favorite encounter on Twitter, so be sure to follow us at Roll20 app and keep an eye out for the poll. We will also gather an internal top secret panel of judges who will review the encounters anonymously and rate them. Those scores combined will grant one winner the title of Pathfinder and Starfinder Infinite's Design Superstar. Now, is everyone ready to get started? Yes, okay, so your surprise prompt for the day is cotton candy crash landing. We want to see ships wrecked by sweets. So Danny will set the timer for 15 minutes.
All right, I'll give you all the countdown. Make sure your docs are up, and we'll start the 15-minute countdown in 3, 2, 1, and design. Yay!
They are off, and now Danny and I get to talk to Rue.
I am so used to things like dash base that I began to feel anxious about starting. And then I was like, wait, I'm not writing.
We get to relax. First, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what Pathfinder and Starfinder Infinite is for those who may not know. It's a community content program that is partnered with Drive-Thru-RPG that allows people to create content from adventures to character classes based on Paizo's intellectual property, including the Pathfinder Lost Omens campaign setting. And you can make some money while you're at it. Your work might even be recognized by the community and earn you an invitation to the Infinite Masters Elite Creator Program. You can find links to getting started in the description below. Is there anything else that you would like to tell us about the Pathfinder and Starfinder Infinite programs, Rue?
It's a really cool space because we also maintain some Discord servers that folks can interact with, which I believe W. Brian mentioned earlier. We have an Infinite Possibilities Discord server that was started by someone who now works for Paizo, Dustin. It's really cool seeing that some of our Infinite creators have the passion and then end up working with us directly as a company. And also, you can publish fiction on Pathfinder Infinite, and we've had recently the first couple of folks posting novelizations of their campaigns on there. And as someone who loves to hear about other people's tabletop characters, I am obsessed with reading the novelizations of people's campaigns.
That is really cool. I don't think I've heard about that on any other community content program. So that's amazing. So you became the marketing and media specialist for Paizo in May this year. What drew you to Paizo and made you want to work with them?
Well, as might be foreshadowed by my shirt, I love the fact that Paizo is a union house. I'm a theater person, and so union houses are kind of like my thing, TM. But made me really excited that Paizo was a company that willingly recognized their union and has been good faith negotiating with us since the start. When we got our contract ratified this year, so everything's all set. But also, I just love the worlds we create. When I saw the position open for marketing and media, which is my professional sphere, for a company whose works I really love and have loved playing and also writing for, I was like, this would essentially be perfect. And they also thought that I was good for the job. So that was exciting for me.
That's just a dream come true for anyone who loves tabletop role-playing games because it's combining your love and also something you love to do. That's fantastic. Can you tell us then about any exciting upcoming Paizo products or projects in the works?
Yeah, well, obviously our big one, again, that was mentioned by W. Brian earlier, is that at Gen Con this year, we announced that Starfinder 2nd Edition is coming. Starfinder is our science fantasy RPG that takes place in the same universe as Pathfinder, but in space, and With second edition, the design team is bringing Starfinder into the same game system with a 3-action economy as Pathfinder second edition, which means that provided your GM allows it, all of the classes will be cross-compatible, so you could play a gunslinger in space, or you could play a witch warper in Pathfinder, and that's super exciting. It means that as a GM, if you already know how to play Pathfinder second edition, you won't have to learn a whole new set of rules to GM Starfinder second edition, which is really cool. And we're doing the most open alpha play test we've ever done for Starfinder second edition, where the design team is going to be releasing what are called field tests, showing what they're working on, as well as doing some live streams of their play tests for Starfinder second edition. And then in next Gen Con, we'll have the full playtest book for folks to play and give us feedback on. In the Pathfinder sphere, obviously the big project is our remaster, where we are taking our core rule and remastering it under the Orc license, which is the new tabletop license that Azora Law and the Library of Congress own. Don't ask me too many questions about law. I don't know anything about law. And in November, the Pathfinder Player Core and GM Core come out, which are two standard resources. The GM Core has everything you need to run a game, and the Player Core has everything you need to build a character with 8 classes and options available to you from the start.
Wow, it is an action-packed year for Paizo products. So many exciting things coming up. It's really cool how involved the community can get with playtesting, because community feedback creates a great game. I am very excited because you have written for 5e, you've designed your own original games. So what do you think are Pathfinder's greatest strengths as a system versus other tabletop role-playing games?
As a player, character versatility is something I think Pathfinder gives that no other system does, in just the sheer breadth of options that you have. I love that you and your party can all be rogues, and you can be 5 entirely different characters with entirely different abilities. And from a GM's perspective, the resources that we put out are really extensive and answer the questions that you get stuck with as a GM. I feel like sometimes when GMing some systems, my players will come up with something and I'll be like, I have literally no idea what rule this could possibly fall under. But because so many folks on our design team are gamers and have played and GM'd for like decades combined experience, they've precogged those questions and scenarios that people are going to throw at you and give you DM tools for designing options to change those things. And so I think that's really cool also. The Lost Omens setting is phenomenally well done. Our creative director, Luis Loza, has put a lot of work into making sure that our regions are written by own voices authors. So when we explore places like Tian Sha, we made sure to get over 40 Asian writers and artists and consultants involved in building Tian Sha. And the same is true of the Mwangi Expanse, which is our West African-inspired setting. We made sure to get folks who have cultural heritage and background. And so I think it's really cool when a company uplifts voices that they are also using in their games.
And I'm so excited about those settings because, okay, I love, a Euro fantasy, but we're seeing all of these new, so diverse, culturally inspired settings made by people who really love the culture and their heritage. Chef's kiss. It is so fantastic to see. Danny, I have a question for you. Have you ever played Pathfinder or Starfinder Infinite before?
Yeah, I've actually played both, but only as one-shots. One of my favorite parts was digging into the character creation because it's so fun. And I still remember the acronym, the ABCs, the ancestry, the background, and class. And just between the 3 of those, you can create some really weird and cool characters. I played a Space Bear Starfinder Infinite one, and we were all Space Bears. But like Rue said, even though that was our main race, all of us played wildly different characters, which was really cool. We just growled when we tried to communicate with people who didn't understand us.
We are very lucky to have 2 marketing experts as our hosts today, Danny and Rue. What advice do you 2 have for designers who are just getting started in the field and want to get their work out there in front of people?
The biggest thing for me when I was getting started in the space is deciding on a brand for yourself. It can be kind of hard to think about yourself as a brand as a person because we're people first, and that's super important. But making sure that you have a distinction of this is my work and these are the things that I make. And whether that's having a logo and a brand design, or whether that's having a central philosophy to all the things that you design, and making sure that everything you make, no matter what it is, can be tied back to you, that brand identity that you want to put forth, really helps people when they see your projects in an unrelated space. Like if someone happens to recommend it on YouTube, or people will see that and be like, oh, that's Danny's game. I know that's Danny's style. Really having that strong idea for yourself of this is who I am, this is the work I make, and this is the work I want to see in the world is a really good foundation. From there, you can build on brand awareness and stuff.
Yeah, and building off of that, once you found your brand or who you want to be as a designer, it helps you connect with other designers that you're inspired by. So my philosophy is always try to find that community that inspires you, motivates you to finish projects, and also like you can rely on if you just need a couple eyes, or maybe you need some advice, or you have their recommendations now if you need to hire a cultural consultant, or if you need to hire an editor. You already have these people in a community where you know your values align, you know your creative flows align, and you can reach out to them so that you don't have to do it alone. Because I feel like sometimes we feel like we have to do things alone, or it's a competition, et cetera, et cetera. But more and more, as I feel like looking at marketing and looking at community as a whole, it's about finding like-minded people and shared values and growing the space.
I'm going to ping pong again. Sorry, because you said something that made me think about it. I think it's super important to remember that tabletop games are collaborative, and so your marketing should also be collaborative, because the games that we write and the things that we make are for storytelling and are for community building. And so if your marketing efforts aren't also reaching out to folks and expanding that community, it can be really isolating. And so just remembering that community and storytelling and collaboration are huge parts of this space.
But our designers have been designing away, and we're almost out of time. But I do want to take a quick little peek before time's up. So let's hop right over to Brian's doc real quick and see real quick what he's up to. So it looks like an airship for Brian has crashed in the mana wastes. That already just builds a cool space to jump into. I love that.
The mana waste
storm that causes sweets-flavored magical mishaps. Ooh.
That's so cool.
Really cool.
And let's hop right over to Jessica's doc. Let's see what Jess is coming up with. Oh my gosh. I see gnome ships with cotton candy and carnival wizards. I'm
completely in a different direction here, and I love that.
Yeah. And it looks like just dug into some NPCs as well. And then last but not least, let's look at Logar the Ogar. With a name like that, I hope for big. It looks like Mike is writing about skittermanders. Do you know what skittermanders are, Rue?
Yes. Skittermanders are a sort of like core Pact Worlds species. They are part of the Veskarium, which is a bunch of planets who are run by the Vesk, and they are these little 6-armed creatures whose core tenet is helping each other, to the point where I call them, as an ADHD person myself, little ADHD machines, because if they are doing a task and you ask them to help them with your task, they will drop everything they're doing to help you on your task instead. And so they are these little furry, multicolored aliens with 6 arms who are very helpful, even if that sometimes means things go wrong.
They are the best thing to ever come out of tabletop role-playing games.
We have plushies of them,
They are
and
the apex.
I'm so mad that my plushie is upstairs and not in my office.
And with that, time is up, and I'm super stoked to jump into these prompts.
Yes, welcome back, everyone. How was it?
It was wonderful.
I have no idea what I just wrote.
I think all my sentences are complete, but I make no promises.
That was the fastest 15 minutes ever. Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, so what we're going to do now is we'll give each of you the opportunity to walk us through what you've written. You can expand upon it and tell us all that you have concocted in the last 15 minutes. Would anybody like to go first?
I think Brian said he wanted to go first.
Okay, Brian.
Darn, I
being
made eye contact.
voluntold. We will start with you and tell us all about what it is you have written.
All right, so my encounter I have designed is what's called a moderate 5 encounter. The way encounters work in Pathfinder 2nd edition, you give the severity and the level. Severity just refers to, in general, how big of a challenge is this going to be? There's 5 degrees of severity. It starts at trivial, then low, moderate, severe, and extreme. Extreme, you want to use once per campaign, very last boss, and even then you want to give the PCs a little bit of a boost going in. Moderate is right in the middle. It's where your average encounter goes. And I chose moderate 5 for reasons that'll become evident in just a second. The premise is that an airship has crashed in the Mana Waste, which in the Lost Omens campaign setting is this magical wasteland where sometimes magic works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it works and there's a random effect. And so it's kind of fun to throw in these wellspring ideas of okay, you cast the spell, but you did splash damage to yourself. I make a note here that you can use this encounter for the airship crash in a spoiler redacted adventure path that I am preparing to run next week. The crash is caused by this mana storm that causes sweets flavored magical mishap. So we're going to have a hazard here where anytime a caster casts a spell, we're going to use the rules for Wellspring Surges, which are already detailed in Secrets of Magic. So we're porting in that rule set here. They're found in Secrets of Magic. They're also available on Archives of Nethys for free, which is what I was using for my reference because my PDF opener was freezing up on me. But instead of rolling...
We could reference?
We can reference, I assume. But instead of using...
I thought that was cheating!
Instead of using the randomized wellspring effects, we're just going to have one effect. So that'll keep it a little bit simpler. There's a little bit less rolling for the GM to have to do. Where the caster gets an influx of sugar, they must stride at least once on their next turn or become slowed 1 for 1 minute. So you either have a sugar rush or a sugar crash. In terms of creatures, what's going on is we've got 2 Azuretses, which Protean, if you think of like a fiend, but they're not really evil, they're more chaotic, but we're not going to have chaotic after the remaster drops, so we'll find out what happens to Proteans then. But these are just creatures who they like to see weird things happen, and so they'll literally show up just to mess with the players, which is what they're going to do here. They have arrived to explore the effects of sugar on this area. Their names are Raindrops on Magma and Explosive Silence, because Proteans usually get these weird-sounding string of words for names. They are interested in seeing the effects of the sugar wellspring. They also have been tasked with babysitting their younger brother named Steaming Ice, who is finishing his homework. And they're a little bit annoyed that Steaming keeps eating the sugar instead of focusing on his homework. And so they're so frustrated that they attack the heroes on site to prevent any further distractions. However, if the heroes can offer to calm down Steaming and assist him with his homework, they can attempt a DC 20 Arcana check to get that homework done and resolve the encounter peacefully. One element Pathfinder fans will enjoy is the non-combative option for resolving the conflict. So yeah, Pathfinder has a reputation for being crunchy. It's not so much that we have a lot of rules, it's that you have a lot of options. And what's cool about PF2 is that the skill side of your character sheet is designed the same as the attack defense side, where the modifiers mean the same level of proficiency, the rankings work the same. And so when you say something like, you can get out of this with a DC blah blah diplomacy check, it's actually on par with the types of attacks that they'll be making. And so it's really cool to have those multiple ways of getting out of the encounter and giving GMs options for how they present the encounter to maybe seed ideas about what the players might do besides hack.
I think I want to be friends with Raindrops on Magma and Explosive Science.
I love Stevie.
I also don't want to do my homework.
And I'm also interested in sugar.
I love how you also gave us a rundown for those who don't play Pathfinder. Super duper helpful. And we see that Brian is a fantastic professor, not just of physics, but of Pathfinder as well. This encounter is great. I love how you can resolve it peacefully if you want to, which gives the players options on the path they want to take. Mwah, I love a random mishap happening when magic is casted. Excellent job. Thank you so much for sharing. And I have a question for you. So you are an Infinite Master, and I would like to know, how has your experience as an Infinite Master affected or influenced your design journey? And do you have any advice for those who may be aspiring Infinite Masters?
Oh goodness, it's been such a welcoming community. The folks at Paizo are very responsive when we have questions. One of the interesting things that's come up, especially with everything going on the last 6 months, has been we sort of become unofficial ambassadors between the general Pathfinder Infinite authorship and Paizo, where we'll say, hey, contact person at Paizo, we've been getting this question a lot in the Infinite Possibilities Discord. Can you give us any unofficial advice that we can say you might want to consider? And they're usually very happy to pass that along. But it's been incredibly supportive. One of the things that is one of our benefits as Infinite Masters is we get access to a lot of the published material early. And so we're able to concoct either side adventures or extra archetypes or extra feat or basically whatever we want to write within the Infinite scope to have ready to go shortly after the new material drops. So I've been working with a couple of co-authors on some Rage of Elements based stuff that I'm hoping we'll have out very, very soon. That's been percolating since we got our preview PDFs.
Awesome. That's so exciting. Everyone keep your eye out for that coming soon. Thank you so much, Brian, for this fantastic encounter. We will move to our next creator. Who would like to go second?
I'll go, because I can't believe I'm saying this. Brian and I wrote the same adventure. What? He's like, yeah, this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. And I'm like, oh my God. So, Cotton Candy Crash Landing. So the thing about Skittermanders is that Skittermanders have to help. And a group of 6 Skittermanders figured out that there is a town on a planet called Triaxis, which is a planet in the basic Pack World setting of Starfinder. It is a planet that hosts Rhyphorians and Dragonkin, and they live together, and sometimes they even mentally bond, which we'll get to that in a minute. These Skittermanders learned that these people in this small village called Draonix, which was named after its ancestral draconic savior, had never had Absalom Station nano cotton candy. And the way you make Absalom Station nano cotton candy is you do it in the same way that you make nano cotton fiber. Is you take cotton fiber and you weave it and you inject it with nanobots so that it becomes a very light and dense material that you can make clothing out of. Somebody figured out that if you melt sugar and do the same exact thing, you create this very dense block of cotton candy. And you can transport that to places, and then you can put it in your Absalom Station Nano Cotton Candy branded Nano Cotton Candy maker, set up shop, it refluffs it, and then you can sell it as a treat. So these 6 Skittermanders are like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take just a mess of this stuff to this small town. Unfortunately, they did not do a good job because they tried to help too much. The ship crashes, and because of some of the ambient chemicals in Triaxis' atmosphere that will not be disclosed because they would be a health hazard and we would get in trouble, mixed with, luckily, the nano cotton candy in its dense form cushioned the blow. Unfortunately, it then mixed with stuff in the atmosphere and is now a all-consuming nano cotton candy blob that is moving towards the town of I already forgot what I named it, Draonix. So the Starfinders, who are the representatives of the Starfinder Society, are tasked with going to this city, investigating and figuring out what's going on and trying to solve it. So in their first encounter, they're in the town, they're learning information, they're making diplomacy checks to talk to the mayor and even some of the Skyfire Legion, who are the mercenary group that or it might be called the Mandate. Anyway, they're Dragonkin and they are Rhyphorian and they mentally bond and they fly spaceships together and it's amazing. And they are like the mercenary group that helps protect Triaxis. And there were some stationed at this place, but they actually all got infected with this weird disease. Turns out, nano cotton candy, when it turns into an amorphous blob, infects you with a disease that spikes your blood sugar. Weirdly, exactly like Brian's cotton candy mishap. So the Starfinders will have to gather information. They will have to do medicine checks to figure out what is happening with these people's bodies. And then they will have to do more diplomacy checks to learn information about the town and to see if they can get the town to help them, both from the denizens of the town and from the remaining members of the Skyfire Legion and from the Skittermanders that crashed the ship. So these three, I'm going to call them factions, they're not big enough, but these three factions are going to have to be convinced to come together to stop this nano blob. And it crescendos in a encounter with the nano blob, which is gigantic, which is both treated as a hazard as well as they are fighting infected fauna from around Triaxis. And then at the end, what they figure out is that they will need to make a survival check to properly harvest the nano cotton candy blob so that they can synthesize a cure for everybody that's infected. So what they try to do is they have options. If they friend with the Skyfire Legion, they're going to have ships that shoot lasers at it that push the nano blob back. They're going to get the townspeople to dig a big hole, because the best way to stop a blob is to just dig a big hole, because it has to fall into the hole. And then the Skittermanders are going to come up with some magic barrier type thing that they can just put in front of the blob to push it back and stop it from moving. And depending on how many people they get to join their cause will depend on how successful they are in the final encounter. And that's what it made. Easy. Skittermanders. Period. Also laser guns, nanobots, you know, those two things, but it's mostly the Skittermanders. Hold on. So there's 6 of them. So that's 36 arms. Can you imagine the group hug?
Visual of this giant nano cotton candy blob is something that I would love to see in a game.
So what you're picturing is what it looks like.
Even though we have some of the same elements from Brian's encounter, I think you still did go in a completely different direction, especially with your Starfinder background. So that was really cool to see. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. I have a question for you as well. You've written horror adventures, holiday adventures, and a PvP supplement about drones. Yeah. How do you generate these out-of-the-box ideas?
So every stupid idea that you have is actually a dumb idea, masquerading as a very good idea. So if you have a silly idea, like, oh, what if I took of a class this one mechanic and I turn it into its whole thing, where what if you just want to play BattleBots with your friends and you think that's stupid, nobody will want to do it, you should do it anyway. You should just do it. Don't worry about it. It's very silly, but make the thing that your brain thinks you should make. Don't worry about it.
That's great advice, especially because a lot of people second guess themselves and they're like, oh, will anyone want to read this? Yes, someone will. So just put that idea on paper and publish it to Pathfinder and Starfinder Infinite. You will not regret it. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mike. Fantastic work. And last but not least, we will move over to Jessica, and you can tell us what you have cooked up for us today.
What did I cook up? Oh my goodness. So I decided
book test for Jessica. No references was done.
I didn't know we could. I thought that was cheating. So this is a gnome carnival / circus ship crashed on a Hell Knight Godclaw outpost, because I love the Hell Knights. They are my favorite little worsties. And I thought of nothing that could be more fun than people who are set to destroy chaos than a circus literally landing in the middle of them. So we have Calazar the Candy Floss Clown, our gnome alchemist, Parsifal Funny Greens, catfolk wizard, and Paralictor Hepzibah Farengrin, Dwarven Hell Knight. And everywhere is difficult terrain because of the cotton candy. You can get restrained in the cotton candy. And that's how you, who are wandering around, find yourself in this mess. And you get approached by the Paralictor, who is about to attack the ship. You can talk the Paralictor down and say, like, hey, maybe let us talk to the ship. But it's a fairly difficult check for this lower level adventure. And otherwise you will get roped in and become, new Hell Knight involuntary recruits to solve the problem. So difficulty terrain gets harder as you get closer to the ship, and then you start hearing circus music. So it makes it difficult to concentrate on spells, difficult to have conversations. And then you find Parsfall, who requests your help with this problem they're having with the ship. And I was like, this is just going to be an elemental because I can't think. I know it needs to be a construct, but I want elemental immunities. And I can't look up monsters because that's cheating. And my brain is blank. So it's a cotton candy elemental. And if you are with the Hell Knights, they're like, no, you're a problem. We're executing you. So you can try and talk them down, or you can just go with. But Calazar's not so easily, or I said Calazar and Parsfall because I changed it. So whoever it is, it's hard to kill because they're a pretty powerful cotton candy wizard and can vanish. So the Hell Knights don't kill them. But, you know, they're going to try. And then you get to the ship. You can do an arcane check to find the problem, although it's pretty clear because there's cotton candy everywhere. Our alchemist has been messing around with things beyond their ken and have created a cotton candy elemental as well as a cotton candy mimic. And as they are battling, they are embiggening. And I wrote breeding in questions just to explain why this is getting bigger and spilling out everywhere. So both of them are sticky. They can restrain you and engulf you. They've got the standard elemental and construct immunities, but fire and acid both melt them because they are made out of cotton candy. So if you are using your thinker or recall knowledge as to how cotton candy works, you can take them down pretty fast. However, the circus music is very loud here, but if you ask the ship politely, it will stop. Then afterwards, there's still cotton candy everywhere, but it's not actively getting worse. So you have the Hell Knights versus the circus. And the circus would like to turn this into Candy Stand Wonderland. The Hell Knights do not want that. So you can negotiate on either behalf or just be like, this is not my circus, not my monkeys, quite literally, and leave. You could do a lore check to know that if you leave or if you let the Hell Knights do their thing, they're going to try and kill the whole circus because obviously. But you can, it's a tough DC for the Hell Knights, but you can lower it by 2 in each of the following ways, either by deceiving them to show them that a demonstration of ultimate chaos will turn others to the path of order, offering to assist the Hell Knights in future goals, or converting a circus folk to the order, basically by forcibly recruiting them if you want to go that way. You can also, with a much easier check, still made easier through convince the circus folk to clean up their mess and leave by, you know, telling them quite frankly that they might die if they don't. You can offer to help them clean up with our Cana or Persuasion. You can just straight up give them money because they're performers, so they're always broke. You can help them repair the ship, or you can help them set up a circus elsewhere. And yeah, that's what I got. I hope they like the Hell Knights because someone needs to. I think you become a Hell Knight because you don't have anyone who likes you and you don't like a lot of things. And so I hope that they like the Hell Knights as much as I do. And then maybe we can, you know, get those worsties some love.
Fantastic. There's so much chaos in that it's delicious. Incredible. And Brian said in the chat here, I know we can string these encounters together into one adventure, and I would love for that to be canon.
Oh my God, yes, please.
Paizo campaign setting, Cotton Candyland. Great work. This is so cool. And having these two very opposed factions allows so much flexibility for the players to basically wreak their own havoc in the middle and choose who to side with. I love how many options you've provided them of ways to solve this. Great stuff. I do have a question for you as well. You've written for a ton of systems from D&D 5e to Pugmire. What do you like about designing for Pathfinder specifically? And are there any big differences that you've noticed?
Oh, I really like the crunch. I mean, it's so standard to say that I love the crunch of Pathfinder 5e, but also I really like what Brian was talking about, how you can be like, this is how tough this is going to be. And the GM automatically knows, so you don't have to guess Basically, you can still do, oh, if you want to make it tougher, you can do this stuff, but you don't have to build that into the encounter because you don't have I don't know your party composition. So if this is something with a lot of immunities except for to magic and you don't have a caster in your party, I might want to include ways that you can get around this fight. And you don't have to do that in Pathfinder. So I just find that it's handy. It's nice.
And now we have the whole rundown of how the difficulty system works, thanks to Brian. So that clears it up a lot for me. I love that. Thank you all so much. This has been incredible. I love all three of these ideas a whole bunch. And of course, we always would love to see these on Pathfinder and Starfinder Infinite eventually, maybe. Danny, do you have any closing remarks, or Rue as well?
I just think it was really cool, and thank you all so much for the work that you did, not only in this, but the work that you do on Infinite, because the things that you make are really cool, and they help expand our world and expand what players get to do. So thank you all so much for taking your time and creativity to be a part of our world.
Yeah, and I hope this game kind of inspires people. Like, if you're ever hesitant, these are definitely seasoned designers, but like, they did it in 15 minutes, and these are some amazing ideas. So hopefully it inspires you. It doesn't have to be something that's super daunting. Give yourself 15 minutes. You can do this at home. Do it alongside these designers and see what you come up with. I will also say Roll20 is also just updated the character sheet for Pathfinder 2e. So now that there's drag and drops for the ancestries, backgrounds, and classes, so you can make characters faster. And then we also updated the measure tool as well for different spells and movement. So definitely check it out. See if you are into Pathfinder. Dip your toes in. Brooke, are you into Pathfinder now?
I think I should try Pathfinder. I could be a space bear, and honestly, sign me up for that.
I will run a game for you anytime.
Yes, and speaking of cool Roll20 things, we are having a September setting sale. Each week in September, a ton of incredible titles on DriveThruRPG and Roll20 will be on sale based on setting. We kicked off the month with action and then superheroes, and the last 2 weeks will feature huge discounts on pirate-themed and cyberpunk titles. So now is your chance to pick up all those products you've been waiting to buy. Shop the sale today. And as we close out, we will just go around and hear where we can find you, follow you, and any exciting projects coming up, starting with Rue, our fabulous guest host.
Hello, my name is Rue. Like I said, I use they, he, or z pronouns. You can find me, the human, on Twitter as @IlanaKnight13, but I'm also the marketing and media specialist for Paizo, and you can find us on Twitter as @Paizo and everywhere else as @OfficialPaizo. And to keep up with what we've got happening, you can also sign up for our newsletter on Paizo.com.
Hi, you can find me on Blue Sky at Unseelie Jess there, on Twitter for maybe still at Miss_Jess03, and on Twitch as Angry Nerd Girl. And coming up, I think when this drops, I'm about to be running Capers Cyberpunk for the upcoming Kickstarter of that.
So you can find me at Twitter, Blue Sky, and Twitch at Logar the Yogar. Our actual play is my main focus right now. I'm putting a lot of work into it. We're having a great time. That is at youtube.com/@DeadSundays. I am going to make this into a real adventure and release it on Starfinder Infinite, because I think that this was great and I had a lot of fun writing it. So I'm definitely going to do that. That'll probably take about a month or so. So definitely check me out on Starfinder Infinite. My creator name there is Mike Logan, and I've got 3 things up and nothing for a while because I was very focused on making those videos good. And I did that. So please check me and the rest of the Dead Sundays cast out. That'd be great.
You can find me on Blue Sky at W. Brian Lane. You can also find me GMing on the We're Strong Together YouTube channel, where we're running New Orcs on the Block. We're about to record the first chunk of the adventure that I did not write. So it'll be interesting making that switch. And you can also find me on the Infinite Possibilities Discord. Things coming up, like I mentioned earlier, I'm working on an expansion to the New Orcs on the Block election system, where you can drop it into more adventures, possibly more specific Paizo adventure paths. If you want to set up an election in your favorite AP, we'll have something coming out for that.
Excellent. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We are so grateful to have so many creative and incredible minds participating in Design Dash. This has been Design Dash episode 3, and we will see you all in the next episode. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Oh my God, I don't. It should be me, because what's more fun than a circus with edible monsters crashed onto a Hell Knight encampment with people who are here to smite chaos. Also, because I did it closed book.
Skittermander. Because I think I made an adventure that really captures a lot of what Starfinder is, which is, while it's very technical, it's very combative. A lot of that's the point of Starfinder. What's the point of having a laser gun if you can't shoot it? But what I tried to do was expand on that and create a dynamic encounter that can end in a couple different ways, depending on how the non-combat stuff is worked out and how they roleplay it.
Well, I should be the next design superstar because I brought in this whole mechanic from a book that is beloved by Pathfinder fans everywhere. I mean, you find me one Pathfinder fan who doesn't like Secrets of Magic and doesn't like bringing in something from Secrets of Magic at every opportunity. And they're just going to love getting a little more mileage out of that publication.